of the pandemic, Governor Abbott was like, yeah, a lot of people are gonna vote by mail, and so we need to increase the number of ballot drop-off locations. That's important to do. But then he realized, oh wait, hold on, things aren't looking so great for my buddies. So let me just go ahead and unilaterally limit the number of locations to 1 per county.
Yeah.
And luckily a federal judge had stepped in and blocked Abbott from doing this. Something very similar was implemented in Pennsylvania, and a federal judge blocked it in Pennsylvania as well. Unfortunately, the appeals court, the US Court of Appeals for the 5th District Circuit of Texas, reinstated the voter suppression that Greg Abbott initially wanted to implement.
Exactly, and I think the same thing might have happened in Ohio as well. So he technically expanded it by allowing the ballot drop boxes at all. Even that is, for Texas, it's like, oh my God, they're making it easier to vote, how amazing. And then they realized either what you said, that things aren't looking great for their buddies because this election isn't looking like it's gonna be great for Texas, or Donald Trump began a months-long campaign to demonize literally anything that makes it easier to vote during an election, and he doesn't want to appear to be out of step with the president.
So today we're going to focus on voter suppression tactics, specifically in Texas. We're going to use a lot of examples about how, making access to voting in general more difficult, whether that be mail-in ballots, drop-off boxes, extending voting periods, or increasing the amount of voting stations for people who may have difficult work schedules or may not have cars. Things like that become more inaccessible. Other tactics that make growing communities of color with redistricting linked up to a white rural Republican community so that their voter power, their voting power is even more diluted. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. So Texas, over the last decade, 95% of the state population growth has been from communities of color. So a total of 39.8% of the state population is white, 39.3% is Hispanic, only 11.8% is black. However, 60% of the total voter population, eligible voting population, is white. And again, these are clear tactics basically to make it such that the Republican Party can continue to win despite the fact that they are unpopular and continue to become more and more unpopular. Nobody wants what they have to sell. Overall, it's the same old, as we know. Cutting taxes for the wealthy, things like raising the threshold for the estate tax so that fewer and fewer people have to pay it. We talked about that the other day. Doing things like lowering corporate taxes so that, the corporations that are already doing things like having tax havens all over the world don't have to give any of that money up to social causes. Nobody really wants what they're buying. And because the Republican Party, through the Southern strategy that they've continued to perpetuate up until today, because much of their tactics unite lower class, middle class, but really more lower class white people together behind racism, is increasingly, even more so than not, people don't want what they have to sell. And so they're having to do things like this, like mix up voter districts so that, again, growing communities of color don't have full representation in the areas that they live. They end up being linked up to rural white communities way far away somewhere that don't really share the same type of interests. And again, those numbers that we pointed out, 60% of the Texas eligible voting population being white communities, whereas 39% of the state is Hispanic and 11.8% is black. These numbers don't add up, obviously, through gerrymandering tactics and voter suppression laws. As we said, they want to really make it so the communities of color just simply do not have access to voting. And the problem with this is, the House passed the For the People Act, but that isn't going anywhere in the Senate. And the longer it takes for the federal government to act on this, and the more impossible it is for the federal government to act on this, especially with things like the filibuster still being in place, this will only embolden the Republican Party to continue to pass unpopular and extreme measures, because what's going to stop them? So this is why, as I always say, we got to vote, we got to get active, and we got to be more aggressive than the aggressors. So keep your head up and let's keep on fighting the good fight.